Hello, beloved. It's me, Robin Hallett, intuitive healer and light sparkler at robinhallett.com. And this is Tea with Robin. On today's episode, for those of us who choose to, how do we show up in this time now with a glad heart? Even though we feel the heaviness, even though we might be feeling fear. Our inspiration, making things special for us because we matter. And we'll have a letter from a friend whose kids are returning to school. My friend is returning to work, and the fear about that. All of this goodness and more. Come grab a cup of yum yum and meet me here. Well, hello, beautiful friend. It's me, Robin. Welcome back to the podcast, Tea with Robin. This is episode 130. 130. And if you're here for the first time, hi. Thanks so much for listening. Please say hello and thank you from me to the friend who brought you here today. This is a place, I hope, where you'll feel lots of love and inspiration. We're figuring out together how we show up in our lives, especially now in these times. In these, take a deep breath, times. Friends returning, hello. How is the weather in your heart these days? I hope that there have been some sunny times and some rainbow times, and, even if the clouds have been a bit heavy, or there's been some rain or fogginess, that you're remembering to hang in there with yourself. Yes, I do. I hope that your week has been smooth and easy, or wonderful, or good, or peaceful, that you've been hanging in there with yourself, choosing to practice kindness and love, self-love. Yeah, I really do. Over here, the weather in my heart has been good, up and down sometimes, but I practice hanging in there with myself. And when I feel a bit blue, which is easy to do if you watch the news, if you hear things going on, if you have loved ones going through COVID, etc., etc., etc. It's easy to have some days where you don't feel as good. I hang in there with myself. I don't just pat myself on the back and kick my butt down the hallway and keep trying to produce and do and stay busy. I've been spending more time doing things that I love to do. And sometimes it's just getting into bed in the middle of the day with a nice cup of tea and a book I always want to be reading. You know how it is? You buy books and then you don't read them? I have a stack of books. So not too long ago, I gathered all those kinds of books up that I have bought and haven't read. Your friend tells you, this book, that book, gotta read this book. And I've been reading in bed, and it reminds me of being a little girl. This was something I loved to do. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Willy Wonka, the Wizard of Oz books, the Judy Blume. Do you remember? Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. Oh my goodness, so many good books. And so I've been reading and enjoying. It's been really nice. I've been enjoying doing some more seed planting. I told you last week, if you heard the episode, I did not plant 40 zucchini plants this time. I'm just doing 5 of something here, at the time. And that's been good. So I've gotten more of my flowers into the little seed boxes that I made up, and I built a compost bin. I've always had a little compost bin, but now I've built like a real built. I cobbled it together, a much bigger space where I can compost more and hopefully get a good amount of soil for next year, which is exciting. And I'm putting some raised beds together. So funny. I laid out all the cardboard and old newspaper and stuff, and then we had a day of 20-mile-an-hour winds, and I looked out in the backyard and everything was flying. Even though I had rocks down and pieces of wood, things were flying around. It looked like it was kind of funny. So I gathered all that up again, and so far it's been holding okay. It's been very enjoyable to me to spend my time doing these things. Yeah. I say we cheers. Did you bring some tea with you today or some water? I have some of my classic Earl Grey stevia and a pinch of sea salt here. Let's cheers to an intentional life. Let's cheers to choosing. Let's cheers to showing up and making things good for ourselves because we want to. Cheers. So good. That little bit of sea salt, I just love it in everything, actually. So, friends, I'm so glad to hear from some of you that you've been enjoying these episodes. It's been lovely to meet a few new friends here over on Instagram, and I'm so glad to know that what I offer feels helpful to you. A few episodes back, I mentioned a book called The Van Gogh Blues. I've been talking about finding meaning in this time, and that's one of the books I've been enjoying. I also really love to practice the Course in Miracles lessons on meaninglessness and meaningfulness. And so today I wanted to talk a little bit more about us getting through this time. And, I keep saying this time. It's a big deal. It used to be something would happen as a former blogger, let's say, something in the world would happen and you'd bring it up one time. You'd mention it one time. You'd talk about it a couple weeks and then we would move on. But this time, in our corona times, the pandemic, it's an ongoing time. And it's an ongoing awakening time. And so when I say these times, for those of us awake on the journey, doing our work, it can be very challenging because a lot of things get brought up with the healing that's happening. So a lot of stuff is coming up and out to be healed. And one of the things I've been noticing is you just can't keep doing the same thing you keep doing. So sometimes in healing sessions, I talk to friends who are kind of repetitive. I don't know if you can be kind of repetitive, but like the upset continues to be there and it doesn't seem to change. And if you find yourself in those places in your life where it's like, oh my God, here we are again, here we are again, here we are again. Here we are again. The upset keeps coming and nothing changes. It's down to you. Like Rumi said, don't go back to sleep. It's down to us to decide to do something differently. And for me, that means I want to show up with a glad heart and find the way to make meaning in my life now, with the things as they are. That's really my own goal. Yeah. It can be very challenging because while what's going on in the world is pressing down energetically, you're still there doing your due. And a lot of the stuff that was going on before is still going on now, and things are changing. So it can feel challenging. So it's up to us to make the meaning. And it's up to us to decide to show up with a certain kind of gladness in our hearts, to decide we're going to have a good attitude about how we're going to live our lives. Show up with a good attitude and decide to be here because you are here. You are alive, you are here, and this is the world as it is right now. And we can choose to be somebody who's living life in a way that feels meaningful for us. Perhaps, like me, that's to also be of service. That's always really high on my list. If I can help somebody else in a day, it really helps me a lot feel more connected to my life, to my own aliveness. You know, that's just me, though. We all need to think about this for us and help ourselves show up with gladness in our hearts, because it is not always easy. And I go back to like episode 103. I think that's the episode I'm thinking of, where I talked about my own depression and crying. I think I even cried in the episode. It was so challenging. I was going through such a period. And sometimes the advice people give you is like, oh, you just got to shake things up a bit, get a new haircut, take a vacation. You know, these are all short-term fixes. The long-term answer is we have to hang in there with ourselves and figure out, how do I show up with, I keep saying it, a glad heart, just to be alive and in my life. So it's always okay with me for us to get it out, to really get something out if we're carrying an upset. If it's Groundhog Day and you need to get these things out, to be productive with that is really important, to let yourself get it out. And in the Course in Miracles, it talks about private thoughts, like when we carry things privately that are so upsetting and we never tell anyone, it's really difficult to get free. And so there are tons of, how do you say, like in the Course, it talks about sit down and write these things out, the stuff that's really weighing on you. Let Spirit take it. Let Spirit have it. Let Spirit know it. Know what's going on for you so that you can have it come out, have it be out. You know, sometimes I talk to people and they'll say, I just feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be. And that is a feeling that can linger for a lifetime. I'll talk to moms who will say, I feel like I'm supposed to be all about my kids, but it's not the only thing that feels exciting to me. And I'm not somebody who can only be about raising children. That's not enough for me. I hear different things which kind of point to the meaningless we can feel. And please do consider your own thing, because I'm sure each of us has a thing, and if we were to word it, we would say it the best way. I'm just giving you a couple of examples here. To get to the heart of it for yourself, to get to the heart of what's really going on for you, what's really bothering you, so that there can be room for your heart to have gladness. Because there's a real freedom that can come from cleansing something out, just like a closet, just like kitchen cabinets, just like that spare room or your garage, okay, or your basement. When you can clear some space out, there can be room for your glad heart. And like I say, I'm not here to talk anybody out of their upset, but I notice sometimes that we can really be stuck in a place that's pretty stagnant. And yeah, sometimes that means we can go around kind of pissy and not very lit up, but we want to be lit up. Do you know what I'm saying? You want to feel better. You want to feel lit up. You feel sad that you're not lit up. And yet, who's the one in charge of your heart? You know, it's not the world, it's you. It's me. I'm in charge of this heart here. And so I care for a glad heart. I care for my glad heart. And even in this time now, this pandemic, there's so much going on. To watch the news and to hear just the different kinds of things that can happen in a day. The thoughtless, careless, thinking about Asian hate crimes, the murder of George Floyd, the trial right now, lockdown, the accidental or intentional loss of vaccines, businesses closing, and buildings that are going to be empty buildings and things, and on top of climate change, on top of, the next latest Netflix documentary about why we shouldn't be eating fish from the ocean. You can hear things in a day that make your head spin. And, I continue to say this to encourage us to not take that in personally and let it dampen your own heart, which already has enough that it's contending with. You know what I mean there, Jelly Bean? It's very easy to whip yourself up into a place, but we're in charge of our hearts, and you get to decide how you want your heart to be. This is just me here. I want to have a glad heart. I care about it. I mentioned the book from Eric Maisel, The Van Gogh Blues, and one of these things that he mentions, and I'm not saying you have to go get the book, I'm just telling you I have read it and I enjoyed some great things in there, okay? You don't need to buy it, especially if you're not going to read it. One of the things in there that I felt was so helpful was that each of us needs to make meaning for ourselves. And it must be personal. We have to take this seriously. Honestly, I don't always feel people are taking it seriously. What gives your life meaning is up to you. What gives your heart a sense of meaningfulness, it's up to you. And frankly, I've been observing behavior long enough that I will say most of the time, people make a choice to show up with poo-poo in their hearts and spend their time complaining or focusing on things that are not happy for them, focusing on what's wrong with the picture. This is very different than acknowledging, I'm upset. This is a repetitive upset. I choose to work through it because I choose to show up in my life with a glad heart, or I choose, this is the life I'm in. This is the life I choose to live in. I want to make it better. I want to find ease. I want to find joy. Let me do some processing. Let me do some purging. Let me do some journaling. Let me go see my healer. Let me work on this. That's one thing, but I'm talking about like the intentional choice, like not doing anything and just being the poo-poo of the party. That's on us too. The poo-poo of the party. Yeah. Those jokes about Debbie Downer. I never liked those because I always feel like somebody we love is named Debbie, and I never like picking names. But I hope you get what I'm talking about here today. I really just am encouraging us to help ourselves here because we're going to be in this thing for a while. It's not going away overnight. And I know there are people who believe they're not feeling any impact, but I don't think it's true. I really don't. I think, energetically speaking, there is a heaviness pressing, and we can work with that by choosing. Yeah. So in the book, he talks about how we need to decide for us what feels meaningful. And we're so terrified to ask ourselves because we're afraid of the answer. And it is kind of funny to me because you can be at a place where you say, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to go through. I can't take this coronavirus time. It's so horrible. Or you can say, this is the time we're in, and I want to find ways to have it be meaningful still. I want to find the way to have a glad heart, an awakened heart, not one that's pretending nothing's going on or pushing the river, as they say. We're still being asked to take precautions. I was watching the CDC, the head of the CDC, when she was saying, I'm so seriously concerned for us. Please take precautions. And then there's other people who are just like, it's over. We need to decide for us how we want to roll, how we want to show up. And your life is in your own hands, and your heart is in your own hands. And if you're not feeling okay, if you need help and assistance, there's an inner being inside your own heart to help you, to assist you. First thing is, let yourself express what's been going on for you. I am such a fan of writing things down. I will sometimes suggest this to people, and they'll say, I don't want to put anything in writing that somebody will find later. And, I get the fear, but that's an excuse that's preventing you from moving forward. Write it down and burn it. Write it down and delete it, Paint it, write it, and then paint over it. But get it out. Let yourself say the thing you never say, but are always almost kind of sort of thinking about. I say kind of sort of because these vague energies hang around with us, like the story of, if you feel like you haven't amounted to anything in your life, or I used to tell the one about what a loser I am, and I don't anymore. It doesn't even feel true for me anymore. So let yourself express, get this energy out. If you think you're in a dead-end marriage, write that down. If you think that people don't have your back, write that down. Get that out. Let yourself really come face to face with your own heart as you express some of these, sometimes I call them the horrible Harrys. Get it out and allow yourself to stand at a new crossroads. And the crossroads is, either I continue in this manner, basically not getting anywhere, or I make a new decision. And one of the things is, even though all of these things might be going on, and I'm going to show up for me with a glad heart and decide how my life is meaningful. It's so important. Otherwise, we continue to suffer and continue on in a way that's like bitter. And bitterness is not what you're about or I'm about, and it's not what we're meant to be doing. You have to hang in there with your heart and love yourself, and we all carry stuff that's upsetting. What are we going to do about that? I got a couple kind of pissy emails back from somebody. I write a newsletter every week. I call it Happy Mail to the Love Posse. I usually talk about stuff like this. Try and write encouraging letters. You're welcome to sign up. There's a link right here in the show notes. Every once in a while, it's like somebody will take what I'm saying and twist it around and take it personally. As if, when you think about somebody who has a mailing list, it's probably unlikely that you are being targeted, in the email. But I get how this happens. You're not feeling great. Maybe you've been sad and depressed, and then it seems like somebody's telling you you're not living life the right way because you're sad and depressed, and then you feel defensive and you kind of write a snarky email. I'm used to it by now. This person said, and I'm just going to paraphrase because I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad or repeat what was written to me, but the gist was, you're saying this thing and I'm feeling this way, so I guess you're saying I'm not doing it right. Well, thanks a lot. It's tough if you feel that way. I get it. It's difficult. But also, It's a choice, you know? I think it's really easy to do that, to throw your hands up and say, oh, well, I guess I'm not doing it right because Robin said, be glad in your heart and get high on life and get out there and get your pom-poms on and cheer your way through your day. I never say anything like that. But, listen, that part of us is what I will call the victim consciousness. That's the one who's more focused on being criticized and feeling sensitive and feeling defended about feeling this way, I think we get this mixed up. We say, I don't want to sound like a victim here when we really should be letting our upset flow, let our upset out, talk about our feelings. And then when we fiercely defend our upset, that to me is the mentality that I would call the victim in me, who wants to fight for my right to be upset and is kind of almost looking for somebody to challenge me just so I can kind of get pissed off about it and feel more righteous in my upset. Do you know what I'm saying here? But if there really is a depressed one here, a sad one, a hurt one, a scared one, a one who can't get it together, he or she needs your help. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you are worth all that love and awareness and kindness and peace. You are worth it. You are worth every effort from you on your own behalf to hang in there with your heart and help yourself out and to make meaningful moves towards getting yourself free. And if you're in that place, or you're in a sarcastic place, sometimes people are stuck in a very sarcastic place with things, own it. It changes the dynamic enormously if you say, I don't want to try. I don't want to work on it. I just want to be pissed for a while. I feel like that's so honest. Maybe that's a very productive place for you to be. But, lingering, stagnant, depressed, sad, and you want it to change, show up with yourself. Look to your own heart. I'm not saying you won't need additional support, but don't abandon yourself. Yeah, you have the power, and I'm always here to help. A session, could always message me and see if we could make the magic together. I'd love to help you with that. I wanted to leave us with a little quote from the Van Gogh Blues, which I'll also say because I don't want you to think it's the cat's meow, according to me. There's amazingness in it, but it's also kind of long-winded, and at times I don't really get why all the pithy quotes need to be in the book. A lot of references to stuff none of us are going to probably read, but that's okay. That's all right. Here he says, our starting point, I love this. He says, you will want to engage in an authentic conversation about meaning, one in which everything is risked. He's saying you risk finding out from your own heart. What is going on for you? Why do things feel so challenging right now? He goes on to say, and this is on page 44, to heal your depression, you must force life to mean. You must force life to mean by sitting down and deciding what you want your life to mean. Providing yourself with personal reasons for taking your own life seriously, you begin to build a shield against meaninglessness, and these reasons must be personal. So we need to decide what makes our life meaningful, and the reasons must be personal. You can't let other people tell you. You have to make the decision. If things have been feeling meaningless, part of that is our own decision. my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. This comes out of the Course in Miracles. So it's okay to sit down and let yourself figure this out. How does life have meaning for you in the middle of a pandemic? And anything else that is happening for you now? Because, this is your life and only you know what's happening for you now. It requires your serious thought, your love and dedication to your own journey. Spend some time with yourself. Sit with this. It matters. You matter. I encourage you, if you'd like to go through this time with a glad heart or whatever your vision is, because we're going to be in this awakening for a while, aren't we? Finding meaning, having a glad heart, feeling a sense of purpose is going to carry us through these times. So may that serve you today. I really hope it does. Cheers. So inspiration today, making it special for us because we're worthy, because we matter. I love to share in my stories every day. Usually I share something I made to eat that day or something I'm doing in the house, whether it's making sourdough bread. I have my sourdough starter. Her name is Phyllis. So whether I'm feeding Phyllis or I'm baking the bread or I'm letting the dough bulk ferment or something, or I'm growing broccoli sprouts in a mason jar on the counter in the kitchen, I love to share these things that I do. And also, I usually share a beautiful meal that I make myself because I matter and it makes it feel special. In a day, it could feel sometimes like a sea of sameness. You can do something special for yourself. And so this is my encouragement for the inspiration this week. What can you do to take better care of yourself? Because you matter. Don't just think about food and little hobbies like growing sprouts. Think about yourself and apply what I'm saying. Each of us is responsible for our own self-care. And I think for each of us, there's these places where we don't want to take the time. We just feel like we don't have the time, or we're too busy, or we don't want to do it. And at the heart of it, I really, really feel, you have to say really twice, I really, really feel there's a worthiness thing going on. I do. So I just say you matter. You're worth it. You matter. What can you do to make it special? I love to make a special meal for myself. I love to eat the bread I baked myself, to grow my own broccoli sprouts, things like that right now. But that changes. Sometimes I know I fall out of love with doing those things because you got to do what you love while you love it. It's not always going to be interesting to you. So that's my inspiration to you. What can you do this week to foster a little more love? Some of you need to take naps. You need to rest. Some of you do need to figure out how do you get back in bed with a cup of tea and a nice book and let yourself read for a while. Maybe you'll try growing some sprouts like me. I don't know, but you are special. You're worthy. You're loved. You're worth the time. You matter. So, what are you going to do? Make it special for you. Cheers. That funny? I rhymed that. So friends, this is the part of the show where I love to ask you if you would please share this podcast or this episode with a friend. Perhaps there's somebody you thought of that you could share this with. Copy and paste the episode in a text or share it in your stories. I always love to see what you have to say. Write a little testimonial, leave a review. I love knowing that we're creating something here together and it's helping us all get through Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. And I always welcome a donation if that's more your speed. There's information there. You can buy me some coffee or a glass of wine if you prefer. Thank you. Cheers. So this week's letter. Friends, if you'd like me to read a letter for you here on the show, you have a question, you'd like some support, you'd like a little reading on a situation, you'd like to share an experience, or ask me to talk about a topic, you can write to me at hello@robinhallett.com or direct message me on Instagram. That's the best place. I occasionally go over to Facebook as well, but Instagram is a really good place, and that's where this message is from too. Here we go. Hi, Robin. Well, the schools are reopening, and my kids are being asked to choose to go back to school or continue learning at home. Well, they both would like to go. I also am part of this district, and I don't want to go back, in all honesty, but I can't lose the benefits. I have applied for some other jobs within the district, but so far there's been nothing. And I feel like I've had a lot of negative thinking. I can already hear you saying, I'm having negative thinking about this. I know. I need to sit with this, as you say. I realize lately that even though I wholeheartedly believe in God, I don't truly believe He is all-powerful or even interested in me. I'm grateful at least to have this awareness so I can work on it, but I would appreciate any feedback you have for me. And I have some feedback for you. First of all, we all need a major pat on the back about how we've been hanging in and showing up, especially with our kids. This is a challenging time, and nobody knows but you how much you hold the ones you love in your heart, what you worry about. You know how this is for you. It's a big time. We're not just carrying our own stuff. The people we're connected to, we're thinking about them as well. I understand it's very challenging sometimes. Going back to school makes the most sense for you, for your kids as well. You've made the decision as a family, and now how can you make it the right one for you? And I think it's all right to process and talk about our anxiety and our emotional, where we're at, to talk about it as a family, to acknowledge these things. And I know in my family, I'm a much more, I will reach out and say, I'm really concerned. Here are my concerns. What are you doing? Are you taking good care? Things like that. And that's what I can do. And then when I worry, I remind myself, we've had this discussion, and they're doing the best they can, because just to keep holding all the feelings is not helpful. We want to advance the narrative for ourselves. I know we're all having our own version of apprehension about things, and it's okay. We have to take some time. We have to be with our feelings. So all of how we're feeling is okay. The thing is, if you've decided as a family that the kids are going back, and that's the thing that works the best for you, then come up with a plan for your family that feels safe and comfortable, and any questions you have, get them answered. Make sure you're really listening to the kids, all of that. Now, as far as the applying for other jobs, but so far nothing, great. It's great you're looking. I think that's important. I was not going to call you out on negative thinking. I don't even see it here, but it's interesting that you assume it's negative. And that makes me wonder if you are feeling negative, like hopeless and frustrated and scared that you won't find something in terms of work for yourself. What I do know about that is it's really hard to be free to feel relaxed and easy, to sleep well, to take care of yourself when you're feeling stressed about work or livelihood, or when you're thinking, if you are thinking negatively. So I hope that you are giving yourself some space to process, and all of what I've been talking about today is so relevant to really get up close and personal with the part of you who is worried and afraid, and really hear yourself out. I can't speak for everybody else. I can say for me that I know I have been so resistant in the past to doing that work myself. What are you so afraid of? Like to really just get in there and ask myself, or what would you love? Sometimes even that question, like what kind of job would you love? What kind of benefits feel like you would want? I would sometimes notice that I didn't even want to ask those questions because I was so sure I didn't matter, and I was so sure that it wasn't for me. The good stuff wasn't for me. So, do it. Do it. Don't be afraid to let yourself sit down and think this through for yourself. Write it out. The other thing is negative thinking. It's one thing to know that you're in a place where you don't feel like it, and you're in a bad space, and you're kind of a grouch and grump, and you're, kind of bitching about things. Because even that is a productive moving of your energy sometimes. But it's another thing to be there repeatedly. It's lazy sometimes. What do you need to do to help yourself think positively? It's not silly. I think sometimes we're afraid to be our true spiritual selves, to call on the ability to co-create with the divine, which you do have the ability. So we fall into stuff like this. There's a light inside each of us, and that's what I'm asking us to consider tapping into, calling up. The light in us. What would you love? What would feel supportive? What would feel a right fit? We can do this as well for your kids. How do you want their experience to be? What do they want their experience to be like? I'm picturing us all wanting to be safe, happy, and well. To me, when we talk about God being out there, we're really externalizing our own personal power. So right here inside your heart, what do you want? What would you love? What matters to you? And are you willing to love yourself like you're worthy and deserving? Because that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Each of us makes a journey with the divine in our own way. We have our religious icky. Some of us did have a religious icky upbringing, and you think of God as a man with a beard, and somewhere along the way, maybe it changes for you. Maybe the light clicks that you come from the divine, therefore you are divine. There is a light in you, a power in you that cannot be extinguished. And it's from this place that we create. We're the ones who assign the meaning to it. So if that feels meaningful to you, I say run with it. It's very powerful. And, why not you? For the job you want. Why not your family for the good that comes? Lots of people are having lots of experiences. Sometimes I like to remind myself, the one I'm having is just one in a cajillion. What would I love if I don't happen to like the experience? So I hope something in there feels helpful, and bless you. God bless you all on this next phase. Well, friends, that wraps another beautiful episode, 130 in the can. It's a beautiful Friday afternoon. In fact, it's Good Friday. And number one and I, we usually have family for dinner, and we're not doing that right now. So it's just the two of us. We're going to make some homemade pizzas with ham and pineapple and probably watch the 10 Commandments or something like that, because we kind of have this tradition every year. And the 10 Commandments is like 10 hours long. I don't know, it's 4 hours but so we'll probably do it in chunks and in between some other fun things. So when you hear this, I hope you had a nice Easter holiday if you celebrate Easter. And yeah, I'm going to see you here next week or in a few minutes. It's me, Robin. Hawaiian pizza all the way, baby. Hallett. Sending you so much love. Bye-bye. Life is very short, let's make the very most of it. You are a precious gem and I love you. Do 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 do. We are here to shine and shine bright. You are a gem and I love you. Do 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 do. Life is precious and you are a spark of the divine. So shine like you know it, rock it like you mean it, 'cause you really, really mean it, and mean it, and mean it, and mean it, and mean it. Don't let crispy people tell you that you aren't sparkly, 'cause you are, 'cause you are, 'cause you are. Thank you. I like that. I love it, honey. Thank you. Give me a kiss. Thanks.